Yo, I'm out here doing a nice bike ride, but I decided to talk about the draft today. And it won't matter if you've never played fantasy football before or if you play it every year. I'm going to show you how to draft, and I'm going to show you how to draft better. So, let's get started.
And now, how to dominate fantasy football.
The draft is one of the biggest, if not the biggest event of your fantasy football season. It's important because you're about to make decisions that's going to affect your whole season. But don't stress. It's actually pretty hard to fuck up your draft. All you got to do is follow the draft ranking order. And even if you do think you have a really good draft, you're not really going to know until like 6 weeks in. In fact, we should check back on our teams at 6 weeks and see how we feel about them. There are all kinds of drafts, but they generally fall under one of three categories: an auction draft, an auto draft, or a live draft. An auction draft is just that, an auction. Managers in your league will take turns suggesting players to bid on. The auto draft is where your league will automatically draft your team for you. When you log in after your draft is scheduled, your team will be there, automatically. In a live draft, your league will pick a night to meet up, online or in person, and take turns picking players until your rosters are full. I'm not going to talk about auctions because I'm not that familiar with them. They probably deserve their own video anyway, and most likely that's not the type of draft you're going to be doing. So we're just going to focus on auto drafting and live drafting. Okay, so if you're totally new to this, like if you don't know anything about football, like if I said Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers, you wouldn't know that they played quarterback and you don't know who they are, then the way to approach this draft is the auto draft. Some leagues are auto draft leagues, meaning everyone's team is auto drafted. But if your league is having a live draft and you can't make it, your team will be auto drafted. So that means if your league is having a live draft and you don't think you know enough to do well, just don't show up for the draft. Or even better than that, show up and use the auto draft button. There's a little button right there where you can turn on or off the auto draft. Or you could make picks for some of your rounds and hit the auto draft button for the rounds you don't want to pick, like picking the first 4 rounds and then turning on auto draft for the rest. This way you can still enjoy the draft, i.e. talking shit in the chat box, and still get a pretty decent team. How auto draft works is an algorithm will generate a draft order and deal players out according to the best available for each person's turn. See this? This is a draft ranking list. It lists all the players in order of their fantasy value. It's the culmination of a number of fantasy experts' rankings and players' actual performance averages as it applies to your league scoring. Sometimes it's called a cheat sheet. So auto draft, using this list, will more often than not draft you a decent team, like these, as ranked by the Fantasy Pros. You won't see any of it like you do here. This is just a mock auto draft. In a real auto draft, you just log in and you'll have a full roster. If you want to see turn by turn how the players were handed out, there's usually a place like this to go see it. The drawback to auto drafting is the algorithm isn't going to know necessarily that Zeke hasn't signed his contract yet. Also, auto drafting makes your team feel a little less personal. But you can add your own flavor to an auto drafted team. If there's a player you like more, you can go to the draft ranking list and move players up that you want to draft over anyone else. And you can delete players that you don't want on your team at all for whatever reason. So that's auto drafting. Live drafting is obviously more involved. Your league will create a draft order. It will be random or based on how well your team did last year. Your draft will start at the time scheduled. Each manager will have a limited time, usually 90 seconds, to pick a player. The first team will pick first, the second team next, and so on until all the teams have picked. This is the end of the first round. If your league has a snake draft, and most of them do, the second round of the draft will start with the team that picked last and then work its way back to the first team. This ends round 2, and then it starts all over again. The snake draft means that the teams on either end of the rounds get to make back-to-back picks. So let's talk about positions. Generally, the person who touches the ball the most has the most opportunity to score fantasy points. The quarterback touches the ball every play, and typically, your quarterback is going to have the most fantasy points of any player on your team. Just behind the quarterback, also literally, is the running back. They touch the ball the second most and are the second highest scoring position. Then there's the wide receiver, who might only have a few catches per game, but there's an opportunity to make big plays and big points with each catch, especially if you're going to be playing in a PPR league. Tight ends are similar to wideouts, but tend to be targeted less. Behind that, defenses are the next highest scoring, and lastly, there are kickers. Okay, now to address, I know people are thinking, it's not always that way. There are going to be some players who are exceptional and score fantasy points higher than their position would suggest. And every league scoring is a little bit different. But generally, this is how it works. Let me give you an example. Here's the player pool of one of my leagues. It's a PPR with pretty standard scoring. I've sorted players by the fantasy points from last year. The top 20 players break down into 15 quarterbacks and 5 running backs. My other league, which is also PPR, but gives bonuses to wideouts and running backs for having big days, it breaks down this way.
11 QBs, 5 RBs, and 4 WRs. Travis Kelce, the top TE in the league, came in as the 31st player overall.
So even though the scoring is different, the general value of the positions is the same. QBs, then RBs, then WRs, then TEs. So that means you have to pick your QB first, right? Wrong. Even though the QB is your highest scoring position, you only need one of them.
Doesn't apply to 2 quarterback leagues or leagues with a flex position.
You need to have 2 or 3 running backs or wide receivers, so it's generally better to draft one of those positions first, because if you don't, you might miss out on a top-tier player at those positions. Oh yeah, a tier is a group of players at a position that scores so similarly that you could pick either one of them and get close to the same result. But a player beneath that tier is going to be somewhat of a downgrade. And then another thing you need to consider is where that player is on his team's depth chart. Is he the top running back on his team or the backup? Does his team use RBs as a committee, RBBC? Is he a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3? All of this affects the amount of opportunity he has to touch the ball, i.e. make fantasy points.
All right, let's give this a shot. I'm going to use a draft simulator on fantasypros.com. I suggest you do the same. Fantasy Pros is a great site. They're not paying me to say this, but they have a fuck ton of tools for you to use during your fantasy football season. I've used their site a lot during this video. I'm going to be using them, and I am a subscribed user of Fantasy Pros. So just so you know. All right, let's do this for real. We're going to do a little mock draft, and I highly recommend that you mock draft often. Continue to mock draft. You should be mock drafting right now. But also, you should do a mock draft on the site that your league is on with a device that you intend to use during the actual draft. That means, say you're in a Yahoo league and you think you're going to have to draft from your phone, then definitely do some mock drafts on the Yahoo league with your phone. Because the last thing you want to do is show up on draft night a couple of minutes before and find out your software is not up to date, right? So do at least one mock draft on the fucking site where your league is with the device you plan to mock draft with. Okay, we're going to do a PPR, snake, as we discussed, 10 teams, and I randomized position 2. Let's give it a shot. No, we're not going to upgrade now because we want this to look like the rest of the video. Okay. The first pick has been made. You'll see it right here in the draft log. This is a good time to point out something that happens every year. Every year, Fantasy Pros will push a gimmick to use when approaching your draft. This year, it's 0 RBs. There's only 2 things that you need to be worried about when you're picking a player in your draft. And that is, number 1, are they the best pick for your team at that time? And number 2, do you want them on your team? That's it. These gimmicks don't really apply to reality. I would hate to see anyone pass up a good player just because they refuse to pick up any RBs. Like in my position right now for this pick, I'm pick number 2. If I'm going to pass up McCaffrey, Kamara, that's a little crazy. Because that's crazy. Maybe later I could see. Anyway, so with the second pick, I'm definitely going to go with an RB. Now, this is a good time to talk about homers. I am a Dallas Cowboy fan. That's right. I admit it. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. So, of course, I want to pick Ezekiel Elliott to be on my team. As I stated earlier, he hasn't signed his contract. And as we learned from last year, this could go on for a long time. But I really want him on my team, even though he's not the best choice. The best choice right now, if I'm going to go with an RB, and I've decided to go with an RB, would be McCaffrey or Kamara. If I were to pick Ezekiel Elliott right now, I would be what is called a homer. And that's someone who picks players from the team they root for in real life to use on their fantasy team. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a player, but it becomes a problem when you start to pick too many players from one team. I know. You're like, if I had Mahomes and Kelsey and Tariq last year, I'd have won my championship. But that's rare that you'd have three players like that on one team that are consistently scoring the way they did. That's rare. And if you were to do that for your fantasy team, yeah, the payoff is high, but the risk is way higher. You want to have a fantasy team that's diverse. So don't be a homer. Try not to load your team up with players from only one team. All right, so let's get into it. Let's make this pick. I'm going to pick McCaffrey, even though I really want Ezekiel Elliott. Boom. So there goes Zeke. All right, now, so I got a top-end RB on my team. We're going to talk about making the best pick for your team right now. I scroll down to the sheet. I see like Dalvin. I got Dalvin Cook. I got Mike Evans. You see where they are on the thing. Or Mahomes if I want to get the number one quarterback. I think it's early. I think it's too early. This is me personally. Someone might want to pick up Mahomes right now because they want to have him and they don't think he's going to make it to the third, but I think he will make it to the third. What I want is another RB or another WR. The best player to pick right now would be Dalvin Cook at RB, according to the list. Now, if you have some personal issues with Dalvin Cook, you don't have to pick him. But if you want to learn a little bit about him, you go up here and you click next to him. We've yet to see Cook stay healthy throughout the NFL season, but that's not stopping drafters from taking him with a pick inside the first two rounds. The Vikings are a high-powered offense, and they are, who upgraded their offensive line this offseason. So the appeal is justified. So you want to take that risk that he's going to get hurt or not? What have you? I think I do want to take that risk. I'm gonna go ahead and get Dalvin Cook and really secure my RB situation with my starters. Next pick. Let's see who fell to me. I like Kerryon Johnson. Using my list, I totally need to get a wideout now. I'm really good in RBs. Not that would keep me from picking up another one, but I want to get a nice wideout right now. I've already missed out on a tier. So there's Keenan Allen, who's awesome. Antonio Brown, who's also awesome. But T.Y. Hilton, I like me some T.Y. Hilton. He's been on the Colts. The Colts are a strong-ass offense, so I'm going to pick T.Y. Hilton right now. Boom. And there's Mahomes. Like I said, made it all the way down. And there's Melvin Gordon. Look at the list. Melvin Gordon, another person who hasn't signed his contract. Or do I want to go with Brandon Cooks, a wideout that I totally need? Now, another thing to look at, I'm pick number 2. And remember we talked about the snake? If we look at the draft board, I'm going to make a pick. It's going this way. I'm going to make a pick. And then it's going to be 1-2 picks here. And then it's going to be my turn to pick again. So I'm kind of making 2 picks. So if I go down, this is strategizing. So I could take a risk on Melvin Gordon, and maybe Brandon Cooks will fall to me, and I'll have that good wideout that I'm looking for. See, we're drafted now. This is how draft goes. If that doesn't happen, if Brandon Cooks gets scooped up, is there another wideout that I would want to take? Tyler Lockett, I'm into, right? But I also could go hog wild and scoop up Mahomes, who will not make it back to me. If I really want him on my team, that'll be the time to get him. So I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the risk on Melvin Gordon, and there's Mahomes. Should I grab Mahomes right now? Look at him. He's just sitting there, begging me to get him. Fuck it, I'm doing it. Oh my, what did I do? Let's make these next picks real quick. My team is in desperate need of a wideout or a tight end. Note that I'm not getting a defense yet, and I'm not getting a kicker yet, because that would tell people I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You can wait on those positions. Now, there's a good chance someone's going to scoop up the Chicago Bears, most likely because they're auto drafting. But I still got starters I need to get that are more valuable than a DST right now. And so I'm going to do that. I'm interested in DJ Moore. I also like Philip Lindsay. I think I'm going to get DJ Moore because I need a wideout more than I need a running back right now. See how this works? Boom. All right, now I'm in the shop for a nice TE. But let's see what TEs we got out there. We have Jared Cook, Vance McDonald. All these tight ends fall under the same type tier. Let's look at the tier real quick. So you see the top three tiered together. And then there's that group. Here they are. Jared Cook, Vance McDonald, David Njoku, Eric Ebron. They're all next year. I'm going to get one of these guys. But I don't have to get him right now. Right now, I can focus on another position. Even though I need a T as a starter, those guys will all be the same. I know one will make it back to me. So I'm interested in getting this Christian Kirk guy because I have a solid running back core. So I think I'm going to get Christian Kirk. I'm interested in this guy. He's a flash of the pan in Arizona that everyone expects to be kick-ass. Let's see where he sits on the... Oh, wait, we don't see him for... He's down here. Huh. Okay, so I want Christian Kirk, but look at all these players before him. That tells me that I might be able to wait and pick him up. This many players in between, I'm willing to risk it. I'll pick one of these players first before I get him. So I'm going to go with Lindsey. Oh, and there's also Josh Gordon. Where is he on this list? Oh, he's down below Christian. So I'm going to go with Lindsey. Lindsey's going to be the better pick for me. So let's go to Lindsey. Draft. Look at that. Josh Gordon's right there. Totally into Josh Gordon. But you'll also note that my other dude is not there, which is sad. Christian Kirk is not there. But Josh Gordon's there. I'm just as interested in him, so I'm going to take him now. Knowing I'm going to have the quick flip, I'm going to look at who the next player I'm going to want too, and it's probably going to be Sammy Watkins. Note, I'm staying within this little area. Jarvis Landry is interesting. I'm not like going to reach way down here and try to pick up, Marvin Jones, someone else I'm interested in, who also might not make it back to me. I'm not even going to try to pick up, see where these TEs are. I need them, but I'm not going to pick them up either. I'm going to pick up Josh Gordon right now, and then on the flip side, see who I get. There's Sammy Watkins right there. Rashad Penny is there. Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones might not make it back to me, and I want him on my team. See how this is working? And I do need a TE still, but I think I can wait one more round before I get a TE. Let's see if that defense is still there. Chicago Bears is still there too. Let's go with Marvin Jones. This is probably going to be a reach. So getting Marvin Jones, boom, see where it goes. I'm missing out on some players right now. I know y'all like, well, you missed out on some players, dude. Let me close this up so I don't have to hide the drafted players already. You have to look at numbers now. So let's explain pairing. There's two different kinds of ways that you can pair up players. There's probably more, but I'm going to talk about two. One is the handcuff. Now, I have Philip Lindsay on my team. Let's go to the depth chart. There we go. Broncos. So Philip Lindsay is my running back. And the RB2 for that team is Royce Freeman. So running backs, like we know, get the ball the second most. But they're also the position that gets hit the most because they get tackled all the time. Therefore, they're the players that get hurt the most often. So it makes a lot of sense if you own the RB1, in this case, Philip Lindsay, to pick up the RB2 who will take over in case Lindsay gets hurt. In this case, Royce Freeman. That's called a handcuff. Handcuffing your running back. And it's a smart move, usually. And in this case, I'm gonna do it because I know, let's look at what they say about Royce Freeman, but I know he's got a badass thingy. There are many who have written off Freeman as just a backup, while others are expecting his talent to shine through and earn a bigger role under the new coaching staff. The issue is that Philip Lindsay is a better pass catcher, which means he isn't going away. Still, Freeman will have a role in this offense, even if it's a timeshare. He can deliver. So they're telling me that this guy, even though he's the straight up backup, he's still going to get some play time. So I'm going to have him on my bench as a backup. But if I should ever need him, like during the bye weeks, he might be a player that I can lean on, even though I still have Lindsay in my lineup. So we're going to go ahead and make this pick right now. Going to handcuff our running back. Boom. All right. We're down low here with these TEs. Let's look at that tier again. Still got it Braun there. But I kind of want McDonald because I know Ben Roethlisberger is going to throw the ball a lot. And there's been a switch up in his wideout core. And I just think Vance McDonald is going to get some targets. So I think now is a good time to pull the trigger on one Vance McDonald. Boom. I'm going to go back to this pairing. I'm going to come back to this pairing in a minute. So this next pick, what do I need? I got most of my starters in. If I'm feeling it's round 12, I could be fruity and get those Chicago Bears right now. I could be fruity. It's not like that's not crazy. But that's not the case for me. I'm interested in Ronald Jones, who, if you look at the depth chart, he's RB1. He's an RB1, and he's in the 12th motherfucking round. That's a guy I kind of want to pull the trigger on. That's a guy I kind of want to have on my team. Let me see what they're going to do. It's not like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are be all end all. No one is suggesting they're confident Jones will tear the league up, but you should be confident that he's the starter. That's what I want. He's just the backup guy for me. I think this is a good deal. So I'm going to purchase. All right, this is that quick flip we talked about. So it's my turn again. I still have 1, 2, 3 bench slots to fill and a defense and a kicker. I'm not against reaching, and it will be a reach for going for a defense right now. I'm not against it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just fucking do it. Y'all can say what y'all want to. I'm just going to do it right now. Oh, I'm just doing that to fill out my start. I'm just doing it. Now, am I going to get a kicker now? Hell no. I'm going to wait till the very, very, very end to get a kicker. All right, so right now, I am going to be a homer. I'm going to pick Michael Gallup because I think he's going to do some special kind of shit. Again, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Now, we all know Dallas Cowboy is going to kick ass this year, and no one's going to beat him, but there could be a team that keeps the score really low. And if you've got 1, 2, 3 Dallas Cowboy players on your team, that means 3 positions out of like the 8 that you have are going to have really low scores for that day. And you're probably going to lose your game that week. That's not what we're trying to do in fantasy football. That's not what we're trying to do. So you got to be careful with how many players you have from one team in your lineup, especially in your starters. That's all I'm saying. Okay, now we're down. Oh, I still got two more picks to make here. We got another handcuff here from McCaffrey I could pick up, but sometimes it would be better not to pick the handcuff and to pick up someone like Ronald Jones, who's a starter, as opposed to having someone on your bench that's never going to get carries unless someone gets hurt. So that's definitely a strategy too. You do what you want to do. This is your motherfucking team. I'm just here to show you what there is, right? Okay, pairing is where it takes place with the quarterback. You get a quarterback and a receiver, whether it's a wideout or a tight end, and you pair them together on your team in your startup. Now, on my bench here, I have Josh Gordon, the amazing Josh Gordon, who is super talented, but holds the risk of being, busted for drugs. Whether he gets suspended for drugs again, the chances are high. Yeah, I did that on purpose. But Josh Gordon's on my team. Why not pair him? If I believe that Josh Gordon is going to be kick-ass, why not pair him with the dude that's going to be throwing him the ball? I know Tom Brady fell out of the top 12 quarterbacks. He's not even being drafted in a lot of 10-team leagues. But if I have Josh Gordon on my team, why not pair him with Tom Brady, right? The question is, do I need to take Tom Brady now? That's my as a flyer now, or do I wait? Let's see what happens if I wait. Let's take a flyer on, let's look at the overall. Let's take a flyer on Kenny Stills. Let's take a flyer on Kenny Stills. A Miami Dolphin, which I never do this, but let's do it. Boom. And is he going to make it? Oh, of course he made it. Everybody had to pick up a defense. So now I'm going to take a flyer on Tom Brady. And then finally, we're going to get our kicker. The number 2 kicker's out there. It's my pick. Of course, I should pick the number 2 kicker. But the kicker is the only position, in my opinion, where I think you can totally be a homer. Pick the guy that's on the team that you root for in real life, that you're going to watch every weekend. It's perfectly fine because the difference in points between kickers is not that great. And why not have the person that's kicking for your team in fantasy? Why not have it be the person that you're going to watch in real life so you can see your kicker make the kicks for your fantasy team? Why not? So, Brett Maher, welcome to my team, bruh. And then there's our draft. Let's see what our grade is. I got an A, son. A, 96%. Let's look at our projected standings. And that's how you draft, boy. Number one. Draft analysis. My team. A steal. Tom Brady. They're calling it a steal according to Fantasy Pros ECR. I don't have any slight reaches. I probably have a major reach for the defense. What I said. And let's see our value picks. Royce Freeman, value pick. Vance McDonald, that we waited for, a value pick. Gallup was a value pick. Now let's look at the team analysis. I'm number 1 in RBs because I took them so close together. I picked up the number 1 QB. I sneaked and grabbed the number 1 defense. And, of course, I have the number 1 bench because I built it correct. And I got a number 2 flex because I went from Melvin Gordon. That's if he plays. Now, I probably should have got the handcuff for him. But like I said, I got a player that's an RB1 as a handcuff. So this is a great draft. It will not go that smooth once you do mock drafting against real people. But this is a great way to practice. So I hope you'll check out. I plan to do a whole lot of mock drafting between now and the next couple of weeks between now and the beginning of the season. So I hope you'll continue to check out the channel, like, sub, and I'm even thinking of starting a league that people can get in on. So pay close attention. It'll happen very soon if it's going to happen because we only got, so long. That's it. Till next time, good luck and good football.